Hi, everybody. Welcome to SAG for this extraordinary movie, Don't Look Up. I'm David Russell. It's a privilege because I love this movie. I've watched it 12 times. I watched it again this morning. It's a delight to watch. Every one of you is part of something extraordinary, and every one of you is playing your instrument at the highest level and in new ways. And let's start with Francince Maisler. You did Don't Look Up, right? Being the Ricardos, Marriage Story, Vice, The Big Short, Arrival. You say casting is a process that you torture yourself over every time you start a movie. Is that true?
Absolutely. I feel like it's the first time, and I'm nervous, and I'm about to work with director Bong, and I'm feel like just I don't know if I can do it. I don't know this amazing artist, and I feel like it every time. I feel a little more comfortable when it's Adam because he makes everybody just laugh and feel comfortable. But I still torture myself over every part.
Well, that shows. I've heard many actors say that. I'll go through the whole cast and ask you guys. There's 62 SAG nominations between the entire cast over history, and it's the #2 film on Netflix of all time and every week. So that's in history and week by week. And there's quite a circus going on around the film, but it's a masterpiece in my view. So, Mr. DiCaprio, do you feel when you take a role that you're doing it for the first time?
Yeah, this was a much different process. We shot it during the height of COVID. There wasn't really a rehearsal process for all the actors, so I thought it was a pretty unique experiment of throwing a bunch of artists into the lion's den, where we all were just sort of meeting each other in character for the first time, and we had to react to this sort of insane world that actually has proven to be not that insane considering our political climate and COVID. But we all had to react to one another in character with very little discussion beforehand. And I think it made us, in a lot of ways, rely on our instincts and be incredibly improvisational. And a lot of us took a lot of chances, and that was the atmosphere that Adam really created for us. That almost anything goes. So it was a fantastic experiment, and yeah, we were sort of forced into our characters day one.
Well, this character for you is a character I think that is fantastic. I've never seen you play a character like this. You're very sincere. You're very credible. You're, if I can say it, you're a little bit of a nerd, which I love, and you're very sensitive, and you have panic attacks. I think you're building a great library of panic attacks between Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and here, which are all different. They're all different. The one in the bathroom where you're I wrote it down, 11 elephants. What is it?
11 benevolent elephants.
11 benevolent elephants. 11. And I wanted to talk to Jen too, and to Adam. That I just love the whole way the story unfolds. I think it's impeccable and perfect. So I was going to start with Jen and how she got the script first. I know she said yes. What was it that made you say yes?
To be honest, I'd done so many of these climate change documentaries, and I got to meet so many fascinating scientists that felt this immense frustration in trying to articulate their lifelong work in the media circuit. And I've seen them over and over again try to express the urgency of the situation. And I thought Adam captured it so perfectly, how it just became this soundbite. And all of a sudden they're on, whether it be the Fox News circuit or news programs, and their scientific facts they're trying to relay are not only challenged, but their credibility is challenged. And I just love the idea of this scientist, who I kind of modeled after this scientist, Michael Mann, who I've met, is trying his best to be savvy and sort of gets lost in this ether, this world of trying to be the spokesperson for the Armageddon. He's become this Fauci-esque figure, whereas Jen Lawrence's character really is almost like a Greta Thunberg that just cuts straight to the chase. And I just love that Adam made this guy so human and vulnerable and lets him lose his way. in the process do horrible things to his loving wife, who was there for him the entire movie. And that whole conflict and that love dynamic between Cate's character, he just made him so human. That's what I loved about it.
And you said the ending scene was very important to you.
Yeah, it was. I think that obviously that's what made this stand out, like films like Network or The Great Dictator didn't have a happy ending. And I just love that all these communal people come to a dinner table together. They just talk about what's on the table because they know what's ultimately going to happen. You know, people say when you're in incredibly dangerous situations, you just want to come home. And I just thought his ending was so poignant and realistic. And he didn't try to make it a Hollywood ending. He was really making a commentary on where we're all going as a society if we don't do something about the climate crisis. So that's what really got me.
I just thought your performance was brilliant. And just talking about the scene before the dinner scene, just where you have no words and you say nothing at the doorway when Melanie tells you she, slept with the guy in college, and there's no words. And I just felt everything in the one look that you gave. And you just felt just that he accepted responsibility and he repaired the marriage. And there was so much between you two that your performance truly in this blew me away. And I don't say that often. And I sincerely think is just one of my favorite performances of yours, because it was the hardest, I think, to do for a movie star to do at this point in your career. And I hope it's okay, I interrupted, but I feel so passionately about your work in it, Leo, so. Okay.
Thank you very much. Well, if I didn't have Melanie's eyes to look into, it wouldn't have been the same scene. Thank you very much. Thank you.
You guys are all nominated for Best Ensemble with SAG. And you have my vote all day long. I'm going to vote several times. So the journey is just so organic. The movie is just explosively propulsive and entertaining and human. It's so fun. It sounds like nothing like what you just said about climate change. It's never sounds like that or feels like that. It feels like an alive, wet, hot mess that I want to watch again and again and again. Like the best album I ever bought, the best incident that ever happened among people I know. Like, tell me that story again. It's, you get to the dry erase board and you're excited, and then you say, oh my God, let's not tell people this. And it's just cinematically done perfectly. And then there you are from this huge airplane that makes you so tiny. And I love your reaction when you're told you have to go, because when you call NASA, you want to be told that you're wrong. You don't want to be told, yeah, that's right, 6 months and 14 days. You want to be told, no, you got that wrong. But you're told, they say, come out here and meet the president. You go, what? And then you're on the plane, and then you're there, and it's this incredible show. Not one thing in this film is exaggerated. In fact, our world is far more exaggerated than what you did in the film. The president is played with great dignity and great realism, as is her son. What's happened in real life is far more extreme. So who are we going to get to next? Well, first you call Dr. Oglethorpe, the fantastic Rob Morgan. Oh. And you know Adam from the Lakers show. It's forthcoming, right?
Yes, sir.
And Adam,
now titled Winning Time.
And you were in the United States versus Billie Holiday. That's Lee Daniels. Just Mercy, which my friend Michael B. Jordan was in, and Jamie Foxx. Stranger Things, Mudbound. And here you are in this picture. Tell us a little bit about you in this picture.
Hey, just grateful to be amongst such a stellar cast, headed by such a phenomenal director, writer, cast by the illustrious Francince Maisler. Just like Leo told me on set, I'm just grateful, to be grateful to even have the opportunity to use my voice and presence to give life to a film like this that can create some type of healthy dialogue and have us all being able to see ourselves in a snippet through this story so that we could really take in where we're at. Because while we were shooting this, I think a lot of us were just perplexed at how spot on the script actually was, and knowing that he wrote this script before all this pandemic ramped up to the level that it was at, it just felt special from the time we just got on set. So I was just grateful to be a part of it.
It feels completely real. Every single step that unfolds is completely accurate. It's like a perfectly composed symphony. And that's why it's able to be loose within it, because the whole symphony is perfectly composed. Everything that unfolds makes sense. Exactly. You enter the media shite storm, but first you enter the science storm with Rob Morgan. And what a great actor you are. Now that I hear, this is my first time hearing you talk as a person. It's like my friend and collaborator, Christian Bale. You hear him open his mouth and I forget that he's a Welshman, because he talks like this, mate, yeah, I've been in the spot of the, like this. I'm like, Jesus. I mean, so I hear you talk, so you're nothing like your character. Tremendous acting. And everything's so dignified, so real. Yeah, let's check the numbers. Yeah, we get the same numbers. You should come out here. I mean, from you being serious to all your reactions on the sofa when they're on the morning, the daily rip or the morning rip, and you're even laughing at the Ariana Grande stuff as you pet your cat. Even though the world's ending, you're laughing at the same stuff we're all laughing at. So it's just fantastic how Adam and his editor, Hank, are everywhere. It's just like, it's a symphony that plays every note.
You were like the second person cast, Rob. I mean, there was no, Adam, it was Jen, I think. Mm-hmm. And then Leo, you took a bit of time to say yes, but I think we picked Rob second, and there was no, he didn't have another choice. And I really have to give that to Adam, just how he knew it wasn't about who's a star, who's not. I want Rob Morgan in this part, one of the third lead, I guess you'd say.
Yeah. And I'm grateful that he trusted me with it. He actually shared the idea with me while we were shooting Winning Time. It was titled The Untitled Lakers Project at the time, but it's Winning Time now for HBO. And he actually shared the idea with me while we were shooting that. He said, hey, Rob, I got this script I'm working on. I have a character with you in mind. I'll keep you in mind, shoot it to you when I get it, and he shot it to me. And I was like, oh man, I'd love to be a part of this. So yeah. Thank Adam for his vision.
Well, you're a presence that makes the whole symphony work as beautifully as it does. Himesh Patel, I think we see you next in order. You were in Station 11, Tenet, The Luminaries, Avenue 5 yesterday, EastEnders, and you play Jen's boyfriend, who's trying to write an article. And I love the conversation that she has on the phone with you when you tell her that your mother thinks she's a lesbian. And she says, let's sit down, I'll talk to your mother in 7 months, knowing that that will never happen. And you say, what a strangely specific time to pick. Tell me about your role and how you felt about it.
Yeah, I was just incredibly excited to be part of this movie, and it was a great little role. And I imagined we were going to have a bit of fun with it, and that's exactly what happened. That conversation that you just mentioned there was largely improvised on the day, off the back of what Jen had already filmed. And so the whole Philip's mum thinking she's a lesbian thing was, I think, something that she seeded, and then I just ran with. And yeah, it was a real lesson for me in improvisation. And I think I've got a lot of work to do on improvisation. That's what I've learned. But I enjoyed it anyway. It was really good fun.
Well, the beautiful moment when you're on the street with her and you say she's not been giving you much attention about your own work, and then she stops and tells you why. The best excuse for any partner ever to say why they have not been giving their partner attention, which is that the world's about to end. And we watch it all silently through the glass. You kind of have it looking like you're going to get sick. You wander into traffic. Do you remember filming that?
Yeah, I do. It was a whirlwind day. That was my first day after 9-10 days of quarantine. And I was working with Leo and with Jen, and it was, my first day on set. And like Leo said, we hadn't met each other, we hadn't met anyone. I'd had a brief conversation with Jen on the phone, so I was nervous, and I channeled some of that nerves into having a panic attack, maybe because I was on the verge of having one anyway.
It worked. It's fantastic. And then you stab her in the back, you break up with her, you say that I slept with the crazy woman. which is what happens in social media land.
Yeah.
Okay, so on the media rocket ship, we get to the mistress before we get to the wife. So here you go, you're on the media rocket ship and we get to this shiny, toothy, glowy, cleavagey, shiny person in the middle of the media circus. You with Tyler Perry are both so shiny. And that's what happens when you're on this trajectory. Suddenly you're in the shiny, glossy, beautiful media circus. And there you are having this conversation with them, the science segment, keep it light about the end of the world. How do you keep that light? Tell me about your character, Cate, the remarkable, the only Cate Blanchett.
Hello, David. The character for me was kind of the second part of the conversation. The first one was that Adam was calling, and so I'd already said yes to being part of it and read the script, and I sort of didn't really know who he wanted me to play. I went, oh, okay, that's really interesting. But I think it's what Leo said. And what I love about this cast is that everybody kind of knows their function. I think that's why the story works so well. Like everyone plays their part, like we're all cogs in that machine telling the story. So my function was what Leo was saying, really, I think, was to show how far Randall Mindy had got from the core of who he was, and how even though he's driven by revealing such an unassailable truth, the process of doing that and the interface with the media, as you said, is just so toxic that it's a madness. And so, and my character, I think, is, you know, she talks at one point about how many degrees she's got and how many Monets she's got, and you know, she's highly intelligent, but she's chosen the shallow path. It's like it's an easier way, you know, when you know the world is nuts, you get to that fork at the road, and she's gone down the shallow path.
Although she's very accomplished, she has several degrees, doctorates and masters, and she speaks four languages. And again, one of the greatest scenes ever is you guys, you know, coming down that hotel hallway. It's just so real. You know, you're on your phone, Leo, and all of a sudden she's mashing you, and you're just mashing in the hallway. And then you're in bed, and she says, I hate the getting to know you part of relationships, which is such fantastic writing. And tell me about how, I love that scene so much. Well, let's start with me. I had affairs with two former presidents. My first husband was a Secretary of State. My second husband was a sport fisherman. My family invented flash freezing, so we're very wealthy. What about you? Well, our dog died, and I haven't cried that much in a long time. And I finally got Mark Hamill to sign my Star Wars poster. And so, you know, tell me, what was it like to be in that bed?
You go first, Leo. How was it for you?
Well, there's a whole precursor to that scene in the hallway, which got a lot more raunchy between Cate and myself, which really set the tone for that scene. But I thought it was just an incredibly important section to have in the movie for our relationships. Otherwise, everything would have seemed so vapid and unimportant. They have this sort of insane sexual connection with one another, and all of a sudden they realize it absolutely amounts to nothing. But that, as you just said, I mean, Adam wrote that piece of dialogue, and that was just so incredibly realistic and pertinent to who these characters were, and so specific. There was such specificity between the two dynamics of who these people were that somehow have now converged. And yeah, there was a point in the movie where that wasn't going to stay in, and I thought it was. I think Cate and I both thought it was incredibly important for the evolution of both of our characters, and also to care about our dynamic, and also the tragedy of what happens between, you know, my wife and I, and the sequence following that. It wouldn't have had the same gravitas.
But don't you think too, I always find that, you know, and it's just a process, and Francince, you probably could speak to that more because I wasn't involved in the post-production process at all, but it seems that there's always this thing that you have to like the character, and, you know, that maybe people wouldn't feel for Randall as much if he had an affair with such a kind of someone who was so, as you say, shiny, and the opposite of like Melanie's divine incarnation. I mean, I find you absolutely heartbreaking and moving and everything you do, Melanie, but and it was like, well, no, he has to transgress in order for that last, you have to earn that last scene in the movie, which is so heartbreaking. You have to feel like they're coming back together, because that's where you go in a pandemic. That's where we're all, you know, we all have those GPS tracking collars on, you know, and it was, yeah, I likewise thought it was really important.
Which gives the remarkable scene to all of you. It gives the amazing scene when you're in your red halter with your arms in the air, your sparkly red halter, while the wife is confronting the husband. And you're just like this. You say, oh, can you not, you can't be, can you be smug? Can you not, this is where the scene where you get to be smug and righteous, and we have to put our tails between our legs. And it's a tremendous scene for all three of you. And you wouldn't get that without human flaws. Human flaws beget tremendous scenes. And you're there in the hotel room, they're having a dandy time. And you get to throw, and the moment where you say, she says, we're having a great time. So that's the only decision that needs to be made here. And you say, yes, Melanie, you say, that's the only thing that needs to be answered. And Leo, you say, well, you know, life gets complicated. And she goes, wow, that was really fast, right? You know, you start giving your, like, your press conference answer. And then, okay, here's the Dr. Mendy care kit, his restless leg syndrome medicine, his anxiety syndrome medicine, his appetite suppressant medicine. And what a fantastic scene to have all those medicines thrown at you and to be humbled as someone who's messed up. And then for you to say at the end, Kate, oh, I thought that it was almost going to work out for a second. It's just a fantastic moment. It also gives you guys the moment that Francine was describing when you're on the porch, which brings it all home. You know, home only means something because it has to push back against the world, right? Like everything in life, you feel it more when you have to earn it. So the fact that you were pushing back against your mistake and back against your choices, you could have got on the spaceship, but instead you chose to be with your loved ones. And Melanie, your moment of accepting him back and telling him that you had sex with some guy while you were going out with him, just fantastic moments. Tell me a little bit about that, Melanie, all those scenes for you.
I mean, for me, I've been a working actor for 30 years. The idea of being thought of by Francince Maisler and Adam McKay is like crazy to me. It's such a huge deal to get given a script like this and be told, you know, this is your role if you want it. I mean, already I felt like I won the lottery. And then getting to work with Kate, I'd already worked with before, and I knew.
You knew what you were getting into.
I knew what I was getting into. So yeah, I was prepared. But just, you know, how present you are, how giving, how kind, how funny. I knew you were going to be hilarious. And then Leo was like a lovely surprise for me. I didn't know you at all. And just, you gave more off camera than any actor I've ever worked with, I think. Like, you're just so incredible and alive, and you love acting so much. So it was just such a joy. I just felt like every one of those moments was so alive in a way that my nerves before I went in didn't allow me to think it would be such a great experience.
It's so real. Your marriage feels so real, which is such a great testament to the direction, the script, and the actors. Your marriage feels completely real. We don't feel like this is a giant movie star in a relationship with an ordinary citizen. It's just, you feel equal.
Look, we've all been a fan of Melanie since Heavenly Creatures. And, you know, she's just, you know, just work nonstop. She's so humble. But when I mentioned it to Adam and Leo, they so embraced it, you know, immediately, that she was the choice. And so they got it. And that's such a great collaboration for me to have. One other thing I just want to say about Melanie is, you know, Adam, Leo, everyone, you know, Adam treats all actors like they're the stars of the movie. So he doesn't treat anybody differently. And it's just, he has such respect for talent, whether it be Robert Joy, you know, or Paul Guilfoyle. The great Ron Perlman, which we'll get to, but I just wanted to, you know, he's such a joy to work with. And I just wanted to acknowledge, you know, I mean, I'm just lucky to have my name on this, truly. So
Well,
I'll shut
Melanie,
up.
you're fantastic in the picture, and the scene in the end is gorgeously shot and gorgeously realized as a true moment of sincerely trying to be present and have a meal that's with your loved ones as the world's about to end. And then we get to Ron Perlman on the lawn of the White House, right as we're reaching our championship moment, because the script needs a hero. Yes, it would be robots, but they need a hero for political theater. So you're on the lawn in your presidential fitness thing, calling weak kids, the P word, on the lawn, which is fantastic. And you say everything politically incorrect, and you get into that rocket ship, and you say the only thanks you need is a shot of Jack and the DUIs to go with it. And this is also Adam doing another kind of sense of humor that's in our culture through you. Tell us about your experience, Ron.
Very similar to Melanie. I have this full disclosure, this kind of syndrome that I'm invisible. So when you get a call from a guy like Adam McKay, like, wait a minute, it started off with this huge incongruity, like, you know who I am? Are you sure you're calling the right guy? That was my first instinct. And then I played along with it. I was, of course, it didn't matter what the script did or didn't do, but the bonus of it is that you finally get over that phone call and come down a little bit and start reading, and you realize you're reading something that is massive in terms of its indictment of how we get to where we are in this world. And it's not one movie. It's actually, my first reaction to the script was it's two movies. The first 75% of it is satire, and what came to mind was Strangelove, which is also this juxtaposition of the inconveniences of to politicians of dire circumstances, and what that will do to their ratings and their numbers and their popularity, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then this last 25% of the film, where they're holding hands around the table, and they're talking about that day we painted the garage, and these little sort of ordinary things that define our humanity in ways that you never see in a satire. So Adam really was making two movies. My reaction to what he was asking of me was, I'm in the first part. I'm in the Stanley Kubrick portion of this. I'm in the, I'm in the satire. And I felt like, okay, I do something that I every so often do and try not to get caught, which is an homage. So Benjamin Drask was my homage to Sterling Hayden, the guy who is just batshit crazy, and yet anointed in this world of this sick, twisted world of given so much power and so much trust, and therein lies the absurdity of his character in the film. I don't think I answered your question. I don't remember what the question was.
You absolutely did. That's a beautiful. How did you not answer the question? You absolutely, and also we don't even have Jonah here or Meryl here, or Timothy or Jen. And they also are all amazing and have amazing scenes. I could name like all of Jonah's moments where he's laughing at Jennifer for crying. You just look, I'm sorry, you just look so bad when you're crying. And his relentless giving Jennifer a hard time, calling her the boy with the dragon tattoo, and saying, gentlemen, come in. Meryl being excited when she finds her cigarettes. There's been many secret smokers in the White House, Barack Obama, Laura Bush, and I love that that's a big trait of her character. The Mark Rylance character is an incredible creation. He represents to me the epitome of a certain attitude that has blossomed in the last 20 years from Silicon Valley, that tells us that all things are wonderful and possible. And he's the one who sort of ends us, really. And his performance is extraordinary when Leo tries to challenge him with some of the data. And he just goes, oh, questions, doubts. We have all these points of data on you. We know your favorite foods, your favorite restaurants. We know you have 5 polyps right now. I'd have them checked out. And I even know how you're going to die. And you identify him as an idealist, a principled idealist. And that means you just go to things that you like and you run away from things that hurt you, kind of like a mouse. That's his read on you. Did you like working with him, Leo?
Oh, it was extraordinary. Much like I was saying before, with all these extraordinary actors I got to work alongside, it was amazing to see the reveal of their character sort of blossom before your very eyes. And, for example, just watching Cate do her talk show host, we were sort of thrust into these environments, and they just became who they were right in front of you. There was almost no preparation. And in the case of Mark Rylance, we'd been talking about who was going to fill those shoes, and to watch somebody with the plethora of gifts the arsenal of gifts that he has as an actor, from all his experience in stage and theater in the globe, to come in and, meet Meryl Streep and I at this airport, and meet the president and just be on his phone, just looking, oh, hi, Madam President, hi, come this way. And you're like, wow, he's made these decisions while we weren't there. And then all of a sudden, the slow menace that he brought into that character, we were all there was this improvisational element, like I said, that Adam had created, where anything goes. But to watch that first day where, we all kind of felt we wanted that character to, for lack of a better term, be, the evil character in the film. And that wasn't quite coming across during that first scene, but there was like this gentle push. And then all of a sudden, boom, he looks at me and he just attacks me. And you just saw that he got it at that specific moment. That was the interesting thing about not having a rehearsal process and working with all these amazing actors I got to work alongside, that the scene could go and veer in every different direction. And Adam had this amazing ability to bring the narrative back on track constantly. But as you said before, there was no actor that I don't think felt that they couldn't take the scene in any given direction if they felt that they felt compelled to do that, Yeah, but it was amazing to watch Mark Rylance come in after, only having a couple phone calls with him and create that character in front of us. Because the narcissism that he created, and this ability, that the symbolism of somebody that believes that technology is going to solve everything. I'm so much smarter than everyone underestimates my intelligence. AI is out there. It's all going to get figured out. It's very reflective of what's going on with the climate crisis right now. We just feel technology is going to take care of all of this, that the simple nuts and bolts of what need to be done to make this transition that are right in front of us, that science has proven, let's dismiss that. It's always up to the future. It's about Mars. It's about these far off things. So, what I mostly love, that aside, is that, we did a film that took so many chances and was so pertinent to what's happening in today's society, and this tension that I feel the world feels about this issue. And you never know whether a piece of art that you do is going to make a difference, but this has really created an amazing dialogue. And I don't mean that just in what I've read in the media, but the interactions that I've had one-on-one with people in the scientific community. It really has created, it's like broken the third wall in a lot of discussions about the climate issue. And, that's what I'm so incredibly thankful for, that people are actually talking about this movie and what it means about us as a human species and our relationship to the planet. So that's just a side thought.
Well, I remember, I know the way the world has reacted to this movie is in the movie. The movie is about the way the world has reacted to the movie. And Dr. Oglethorpe, I know that the New Yorker review, which was I thought, glib and dismissive. And I look at it all. I look at your whole movie, which I said is a masterpiece. And as when Bob Dylan went electric, you know, if you watch the Robbie Robertson documentary, they were booed in every country for a year just because the artist went like this. The artist said, I'm not going to play the folk songs. I'm going to play these electric songs with the band. And that's how I view your movie. Your movie is a great combination of Adam's brilliant comedic abilities and filmmaking abilities and all of your acting abilities. And it creates this completely original thing that is at the same time serious as it is propulsive, funny, and visceral. And I even like taking the issue out of it. You can talk about the issue, but you can also not talk about the issue, because to me, it's all real. Everything that's portrayed is real, and it exhilarates me. Great cinema exhilarates me. This movie exhilarates me. I know these horrible things are happening, but to see it lived by you all made me exhilarated and made me laugh with human delight, to have a truth spoken and seen. You know, for example, what you said about phones, the fact that they say when you first meet Bosch Technologies, the phone will learn your every mood and will make an appointment for you with a therapist, and will then feed for you pictures that will help change your mood, like a puppy on top of a rooster. And then he comes off and he's like, well, you know, that bird was a little threatening to me. And just like the phone automatically buys the DJ song, DJ cello song, without you deciding to, as my phone decides to make movies about my family without asking me, which is horrifying as well as enchanting. So that's where we're all headed. And every movie tells us that's a bad idea. But as you point out, nevertheless, we head that way, as if it's inevitable. And the movie, from Tyler Perry to everybody on this cast, is about the culture that is blind. At the same time, it's the most media-aware culture in history. It's weirdly blind. And that's why everybody's performance is so amazing to me, because it's also real. I could talk about this film for hours.
David, can I say something? My first day was the Situation Room, and I don't think Adam knew why my character was there. I was just there with all these amazing actors who've been working for a few weeks, and I'm sure we'd all had this experience where things have been cancelled and postponed, and we were making other things, or things have been cancelled that weren't about this moment in human history. And I found it so strange to be in a room that was dealing with this thing that the entire globe was experiencing in this Situation Room. And yet we couldn't see any of the crew. We couldn't gather and talk about anything. We all had to get whisked to our trailers and, you know, punched and prodded like everybody had to in order to keep progressing. So we were all kind of separate from one another. And it felt that I'd never been on a set that was, because obviously, as Rob said before, this was written totally pre-pandemic. It was like he, I don't know, had this prescient understanding of the point we were going to find ourselves in. But the atmosphere in the room, you couldn't make that up. You couldn't, it just seemed to add, the whole movie was kind of sitting on this thing that everyone was experiencing. And then it's been released in a time that you could never have expected or hoped or understood that it would be released in this time when people are so raw, and, you know, they've huddled and watched, like you're saying, the crazy media, but also movies and old movies and new movies, anything they can get their hands on. So the audience were in a really strange place, and it feels like in a strange way without anyone knowing this, that the story and the experience behind the story has collided with an audience in a really remarkable way. And because and also watching it for me, because obviously my bit was so, you know, siloed. So I was watching it as an audience member, and, you know, reading the script, it was like Ron was saying, it was a satire for a lot, but I wept when I got to the end, watching all of you guys, and not what you were ignoring in the TV studio, pretending that the thing wasn't happening, but what you were choosing to gather around and be thankful for, and not in a mawkish way, not in a sentimental way. I found that so strange. I've never had that experience with a film before. You know, don't you think it's so weird?
I just want to, if I may, you cannot over articulate Mark Rylance's characterization. It's so sick and twisted. But to me, the most emblematic moment in the whole movie is when Rylance says to Professor Mindy, "Did you just call me a businessman?" And then he reads him the riot act and tells him what he has on him, all of these data points, and how easily he could destroy the entire world. And here we have the quintessential businessman who thinks he's something else. And if that's not like a metaphor for every single thing that Adam manages to do in this movie, which is this tightrope walk around real hubris, around people who have completely immersed themselves in nothing but false idols to distract themselves from everything that they would have to ever feel anything about. That's the movie. But that moment with you, Leo, and Mark, where you touch that nerve in him, you know, he's very kind of ethereal up until that moment, and he gets like a fucking mafia guy, you know, I can destroy you, I can burst your polyps right now. That's what I have on you. How dare you think of me as a businessman? I'm a visionary. Yeah, right. And therein lies the importance of this movie. And I think, David, you know, your enthusiasm for it is so phenomenal. Your way of expressing how important it is on so many different levels. Everybody here, it's what a wonderful thing to have just, you know, had a small part in at any point in one's career is something that covers this kind of scope and magnitude. It's
a fantastic movie, even without the comment. So I'll go toe to toe with anybody about this movie. I mean, because it is in terms of craft, acting, performance, score, editing, it's just a fantastic movie. And what I was leading up to, Dr. Oglethorpe, was that how Leo said it's penetrated the world and now the world is reacting. So Adam told me that, you know, that New Yorker guy who called climate scientists toxic and said some things like that, a NASA climate scientist tweeted, "Fuck you," which is like right out of the movie to me. That a NASA climate scientist felt so insulted by this movie reviewer dismissing a whole field of science that he just very simply said it, which I also like what you said, Mr. Perlman, to the world and to the critics. I thought that was something your character would do, but I also liked that you did it. Because there's something that's very out of whack about the response to the movie, but it's the most watched movie because it's fantastic and you can't not watch it. And that's because all the performances in the ensemble are incredible. And it's about something that's very alive. And so I think the film is about the very strangeness of the world that is reacting to it. That's how brilliant I think it is. So thank you guys, and salud, and you know, congratulations, and I hope the SAG ensemble, it's a very important film. I would love for you guys to be recognized.
David, thank you for your support.
Thank you so much, David.
It's a really wonderful move that you came out to do this for all of us. This is one of your contemporaries, and you took this. Your connection to this movie and this story is amazing, and for you to take your time to do this, we really appreciate it, my friend.
Very much.
We really
so.
do.
Thank you.